go ahead and throw out your questions. There's a hand right back there.
Speaking of killing somebody, that scene where the ladies like hanging out in the car, do you want to just talk about that? Because that was an amazing scene.
Well, okay, well, let me tell you the influence for that scene. That influence for the scene was inspired by a disappointment I had watching a scene in a Jackie Chan movie called Police Story. I don't know if you guys remember, but the opening of Police Story, there's this police raid of a shanty town, and the police cars are going down a hill, going through the shacks. At one point, though, a woman is handcuffed to the steering wheel of a car. I thought she was going to be pushed, and she'd be hanging from the car, going down the hill, crashing into the buildings. But it never happened. So I made it happen. So I owe the inspiration for that scene to Jackie Chan, who I think is the greatest. And in fact, I would say Maniac Cop 2 really should have been dedicated to the Hong Kong film industry, because it was during the late 80s. Spiro Rosados and I, during our free time, would go down to Chinatown in Los Angeles to a theater called the Kwowa Theater, and we would see all the Jackie Chan films, all the Chow Yun-fat, John Woo movies that hadn't yet exploded into mainstream. So we were soaking up all the stuff they were doing. In fact, that was Spiro who jumped through that window and landed on the top of the van and landed on the floor. He wouldn't let anybody else do it except for him. And what made that stunt particularly dangerous wasn't falling onto the van. It wasn't hitting the ground. It was that in order to create the illusion that he was running away from somebody, he couldn't be standing by the glass. He had to be about 6 feet from the glass, and therefore he could not see the van below before he ran into the glass. So it's a very dangerous stunt from that perspective. And to answer, to wonder how he protected himself, a sweatshirt.
How did the stunt woman do the scene on the outside of the car?
Oh, how she did it. Okay. Well, the dangerous part of her outside the car was that she couldn't move off of the car. That was the danger. And there were two dangers, actually. One is she couldn't move off the car. The second danger was we wanted her foot kind of dangling on the ground, kind of scraping the ground. And there was the potential that her foot could possibly go under the back tire. But it really was, it's a dangerous stunt, and she was well paid, and but it was, it didn't pose, you know, she wasn't actually steering the car. The car was being steered by an unseen driver, sometimes in the back seat. So she wasn't in control of the steering wheel. She was just creating the illusion. So it was really, you know, you couldn't do it with a dummy, although we did use an articulated dummy for where the car is airborne. But when the cars are crashing into the car, that was the actual stunt woman. When it goes through the intersection and the two cars hit each side of the car. See, what was dangerous about that is she couldn't have gotten out of the way. If one of those cars missed its mark, she could have gotten crushed. So she had to rely on her fellow stunt drivers.
And if we over on that side there. Yeah.
I had read something about a possible Maniac remake. Was something involved with Tom Sizemore? Is there any truth to that?
No, well, there is a Maniac remake that's in the works. And the reason Tom Sizemore's name has been batted about is because I was asked, what actor would you think has today most embodies the characteristics of Joe Spinell? And I threw out the name Tom Sizemore, but I don't, you know, I'm not advocating Tom Sizemore. What's What's that?
Do you have anything to do with the remake?
Let me put it to you this way. It says in the credits, it's going to say in the credits, if it gets made, I mean, they have an option. It's a very legitimate company. The same people who did, do you see Mezzarine, the Vincent Cassel movie? No? You guys haven't seen Mezzarine?
Yes.
He did.
Killer Instinct? It's a great movie.
Awesome.
The two movies, they're fantastic. They didn't play down here?
No.
Tim, you didn't play these movies? These are two great movies. And distributed by Music Box. Anyway, that producer of those films is the one who optioned the Maniac remake, and Alexander Aja and his associate is producing it. And but it says in the credits that my company is presenting it, and it has my name as a producer, and I have nothing to do with it.
Oh, sorry, there's a hand that kind of promised in the second row there.
I feel like I'm under interrogation. I can't see any of you guys.
Yeah, you.
Okay, it's kind of a two-part question. What was the production budget on the movie?
This picture cost $4 million.
Wow. Did that have anything to play out in having to kill off Bruce Campbell 20 minutes into the movie?
The budget?
Did that have anything to do with killing Bruce Campbell off 20 minutes?
Not at all. Not at all. It was done, look, it was kind of intended to be, we wanted to do a reset. I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. I think Bruce Campbell could have carried on the films and, maybe, because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
But it was intended to be a reset, also to be a kind of a psycho moment, totally unexpected. But it was not for budget reasons.
Though, does that hand?
Although I have to say, and Bruce would concur, he did extract his pound of flesh for having worked for minimal wage for scale on the first picture, and then knowing he's being bumped off after 1 week of shooting on the second picture. So he got paid more for the 1 week than he got for the entire first film. And I'm happy to have paid him because he's worth it, and he's a great guy.
The movie's dedicated to Joe Spinell. Who is that?
Get the hell out of here. I can't believe this. How did you let these people in?
All right, person next to you might have better luck.
I did find the on-fire scene at the end quite touching. I just wanted to know how you were inspired by it. Why did you keep the main character of the movie combusted for 5 minutes at the very end?
Well, the fire scene at the end, that whole sequence at the end, was inspired by the original Thing. Remember when James Arnaz comes bursting through the wall, comes bursting through the door and they light him on fire? What I did was I took that idea and exaggerated it. And at the end he goes through the wall and then he's out in the snow, except this time he goes through the wall and he falls 6 stories.
When Chuck Norris made his TV series, did he get your permission to use the name Cordell Walker?
The name Cordell I've seen. Larry Cohen, like myself, is a big film noir fan, and I've seen the name Cordell pop up on a lot of film noirs, so I don't consider that I have a lock on the name. Although they are rich people, maybe I should just attempt to sue them. Maybe I'll get a settlement.
Yeah.
Speaking of Larry Cohen, him being a director in his own right, how did you guys decide to collaborate and have you direct scripts that he wrote for the Maniac Cop movies?
Actually, it worked out very well. Of course, what happened is Larry didn't, although it says a Larry Cohen production, Larry Cohen didn't produce Maniac Cop 1 or 2. He'll tell you that. It's an honorary credit. I produced and directed both films. And how it worked is Larry wrote the script. We collaborated. We did some rewrites. Often Larry did them reluctantly. Sometimes he did them happily. It And then I would make the movie, and he would come into the cutting room and tell me all the mistakes I made. And that was the collaboration. But I love Larry. I mean, he's a dear friend. He's a great guy, and I think he's just a brilliant writer, and especially an idea man. He's a great idea man. I mean, how many people come up with, like, Cue the Winged Serpent, It's Alive? I mean, this guy has a filmography that's very impressive. Plus, that movie he did Phone Booth, that was good.
I heard they had you cut a lot of parts in the police station scene when he comes.
Nobody had me cut anything on this film whatsoever. Nothing. Everything in the film, for better or for worse, is what I intended.
That one?
Also, why has the film been so unavailable on DVD?
That's a good question. And the problem is, the company that, there were two companies that financed the film. Their names are up front. I even forget their names. I try to forget them. Look, I'm grateful for the financing, but sometimes these companies wind up going out of business. And it turned out both these companies went out of business, and they sold the film to another company in the United States. That too that company got sold to another company. That other company, First Look Films, went out of business. Their assets are now with a company called with Millennium Films. And I am attempting to get the rights to put Maniac Cop 2 out on DVD and Blu-ray. But it's very difficult dealing with these companies. It's really hard because it's crazy, but they're afraid to give you the rights to put something out for fear that you're going to make it successful and make their bosses wonder why they didn't put it out themselves. It's this weird catch-22. And I have to find a way. I'm trying by hook or by crook to try to find a way to make it happen. But I've been so far unsuccessful.
All right. I want to ask one last question, if that's
Sure.
okay. So,
As long as I have enough tea to keep my voice.
the Maniac Cop movies became such a big deal that, they were so successful, in home video as well as, the original release, that there was even knockoffs spawned, like these movies like Psycho Cop and all this stuff like this. Do you feel, I don't know if that would inspire a sense of pride in you, because Psycho Cop is pretty whack, but do you feel like these movies are kind of among the greater aspects of your, legacy as a filmmaker and all that? I mean, like, are these movies that fill you with pride, or do you kind of look at them as more of the action, the Maniac Cop films? Like, do you feel like these have really reached an iconic status in your regard?
Frankly, I don't think I could have done much better than Maniac Cop 2. I mean, I don't, I'm proud of every frame of the movie. There are things I would change today. If I put it out on home video, I'd probably do a little bit of CGI to get rid of some of the wires and things that we couldn't have done. But I'm not gonna, I don't think it's such a bad idea. It's available, the technology is there. And when you're watching stuff on Blu-ray, you're gonna see stuff on your home screen, from repeated viewing. But I'm very, very, very proud of the Maniac Cop movies.
The reason I ask is because they are so goddamn great, and like it's so real, and the action is so impressive. And I just want to make sure that you love the movie as much as we do. So thank you so much for making it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming back.
Everybody, please come back to see Vigilante tomorrow night at Weird Wednesday. It is truly a life-changingly important and incredible movie. I mean this. And also, you're going to be out, don't shake your head at me. And then you're going to be out in the lobby hanging out a little bit, right? With the posters and all that?
What I thought is, rather than stop me here, because they're going to want to clean up, I've been asked if downstairs there's that little kind of bar at the entrance. I'll be over there and I'll sign whatever you guys want me to sign.
Thank you, William Lustig.